Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Collider interview straight from Sundance 2019, brought to you by Kia Telluride. A huge thanks to them. Right now, we have the filmmakers behind the movie Cher here. Rhianne, Pippa, thank you so much for coming in, and a huge congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
First, whoever wants to do it, can you tell our audience briefly what Cher? I know you've probably been asked this a million times.
It was a preemptive.
I watched that question get bumped around from person to person because no one wants to do it.
No, Cher is story of Mandy, played by Rhianne Barreto, a high schooler who gets a video from a night she doesn't remember, and then sort of has to unravel what may or may not have happened while navigating the escalating chaos and fallout around it. So.
A first feature for you, which is just a huge achievement. Can you tell me a little bit about getting, not just saying one morning, oh, I'm going to make a movie, but actually feeling like it's real? Like, what was that thing that changed that conversation?
You know, I think it was like a small cumulative thing. I mean, I think I came to it more from a place of loving films. I don't think I necessarily, I'd studied like photography and painting undergrad, and that was what I loved doing. And then I was like, I'm super lonely. This is a very lonely pursuit, and I want to work with a team, you know, with a crew. What art forms are there with more bodies? Film was the only one I could think. I'm not musically talented in any way or a dancer, so film was
right there with you.
I feel like I've seen you dance really well.
Okay. Anyway,
karaoke? No karaoke?
Yeah, absolutely not. But I'm like, I get nervous about silences, so I will fill them in a karaoke setting with just
harmonizing
regrets. But no, I think it was that. It came from a place of like just wanting to you know, work with the team and, you know, in a collaborative art form. And then it was small, incremental, I think, kind of things, steps from there. Like PA jobs from off Craigslist.
I was looking at your filmography on IMDb, and I saw Bachelorette on there, and I happened to see Leslie Headland here the other night, and I love Bachelorette. I'm a big fan of hers, so I found it funny when you can connect the dots there.
Yeah, I was a PA. I think that was like my first job out of college. It was like I was a PA, camera PA, terrible camera PA. I mostly just coiled and uncoiled BNC cable. That's it. Pretty much my whole job.
That's like where it all starts, though. And I'm also a firm believer that whether you're a director or any position on a film at all, just having that understanding of what other departments have to do can only help the overall production. I
think so. I mean, I think there's you know, especially writing and directing, it's like you're responsible for every choice, whether you like it or not. There's no one to blame. So I think that having like a physical grasp of, you know, whether it's post or, you know, any arena is like really empowering and expands your toolkit, you know, expands the palette you can paint with if you have like a, you know, some familiarity with the minutia. With BNC,
Minutia's
changing the end of BNC cables, you know?
Such a good word. I don't know what it means. I can't use it. I might call my
tiny
child
shit.
Minutia. Minutia Barreto.
Be like 6'5".
Minutia.
We obviously have to jump into the casting process because I was reading that it was pretty extensive, and you obviously have a wonderful lead here. So
you.
how did this happen? I was reading something like, did I make this up? 500 auditions or something like that?
You didn't. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, for me, the film is pretty much entirely Rhianne's face. It's, you know, it's not a performance that, like, it's a very, I think, nuanced and subtle, and it's a really challenging performance, I think, and it was very specific, and there wasn't, you know, I saw incredible talented people, but I think finding someone who could, you know, carry the really emotionally, you know, challenging scenes, the big scenes, the hard, you know, the ones that were going to be exhausting and painful, but then also be an incredibly gifted athlete and be up to the physicality of the role.
I could not do press-ups before this film.
I was reading that you learned to play basketball, and the second I saw that, I'm like, oh, we're going to get along. So I'm obsessed with basketball.
You do?
That's, growing up, my favorite sport.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your position? Like, what was your thing?
Shooting guard and point guard.
Damn.
But,
Damn.
yeah, and I still love playing now.
You
so
do?
anytime I have the opportunity to talk about
Should we
it,
play
I'm like,
now? Does anyone have
1v1.
I wish.
I'll ref.
I wish right now.
I'll be the hoop.
It's like I wouldn't go out in the cold for just about anything except to play basketball and pet a puppy. But it's
Pet a puppy. Not a cat. Not a cat.
I think we can
no,
make
a
this
cat
happen
too.
for you.
Oh,
If there was a cat out there, I would definitely go after it right now.
Yeah, just me and you, just chasing cats.
I think that would be a very entertaining video. I wish I could bring that to our viewers now. What was it like jumping into your first feature too, especially as a lead? Because I imagine it's this wonderful opportunity you're grateful to have, but I also imagine it's probably like nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it was absolutely terrifying in every sense of the word, because I'm not American. I'm not a basketball player. I'm not Mandy. Like, I don't think I wish I was, and I don't know if I could make the strong choices that she made in the film. I think I'd be crumbling on the floor a lot, crying and eating. I think I'd eat more than do press-ups. I don't think I'd deal with things with press-ups. I think
You're not alone with that.
She eats too.
She eats a sandwich, but
Sad
she
sandwich.
also has biceps, and that doesn't exist in my body. But yeah, no. So it was a crazy process. I think there was this problem with a visa. I couldn't get into America because of probably my race. I was told that I didn't look British, and my visa got denied.
Yeah.
And that was a couple weeks away from shooting in New York.
We appealed, I think 5 times. We made 5 different attempts. I mean, because she was denied an 01. I mean, she was granted the 01. You know, she they deemed you qualified for the artist visa, and then went in for the interview and had a really problematic, racially charged interview.
Yeah. Because of my dad's background in Iraq. So that happened. That gave me time and stress and a lot of emotional experience to understand Mandy. I think I kind of you have to just use all this pain sometimes, I think, as an artist, to like feed into this suffering, because I'm not a survivor. I never had Mandy's experience, and it was an experience of powerlessness and a lot of things happening at me, and people telling me to do things that they thought was right for me, and this feeling of blame and it being my fault, which Mandy experiences. And I'm not comparing this to a survivor's experience, because it's not that, and I cannot imagine the pain that they go through, but nor can I imagine a real refugee's pain and suffering. And this was a vanity project in comparison to, I think, trying to survive and get into a country for your family, not being in a cage, you know, like it's bigger than this. Yeah. So that definitely fed into it. That's heavy.
That's a very upsetting story to hear. But
yeah,
I'm glad to hear that you use that experience in a positive way to serve the art, and now you're here sharing a movie with a lot of people out here who the movie could probably help them.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, this was Pippa being a legend and not recasting me, and like moving to a different country for one act is like unheard of. I'm not in any. I'm not famous. I'm not.
You've seen her though. Come on.
I've got no like credentials to back me up.
Just wait.
I'm just want to eat the microphone out of like I don't know what to do.
What is that conversation like from your perspective with your producers? Because I don't know your specific producing team, but is that a decision that they embraced, or did you have to do some convincing, especially with financiers involved, to make sure that you made the movie with the person you wanted to make it with?
Yeah, I mean, there was, I think any responsible producer or financier would make you have a conversation about that, you know, because it was obviously like, you know, a very, we weren't a movie with a lot of resources, or extra resources, certainly. So I think it was like it had to be a considered decision. For me, it was a no-brainer, and I really feel everybody else felt that way too. I mean, one, because Rhianne is so singular, and there was no one else who could carry this film, you know, who could inhabit this role so fully and so beautifully. So for me, non-starter there. It was like, we're moving where she can work. But also, I think we all felt, and producers, financiers too, you know, A24 was really, really supportive that like someone shouldn't lose their job because of the way a visa interviewer thinks their skin looks. So I think it was like, you know, if we think that that's not cool, then how could we support a policy like that? So we went somewhere where we could all work, which happened to be Canada. They gave us all visas.
Big up
which was
Canada. Yeah, I said Canada like Grenada. That was really weird.
But, you know, I mean, we got really lucky that, you know, I think after the film came out, there was like a revived effort to get me, because weren't going to be allowed to come to Sundance.
Yeah,
And
that was
we
a
couldn't-
big
We couldn't get her
conversation.
even an ESTA.
That was still
visa.
I
continuing?
didn't have an
Yeah.
ESTA. I was refused an ESTA.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand wrote like an impassioned plea to like get the records released for Rhianne's
I had,
visa
like,
interviews, and they granted her.
senators had to
Yeah.
get involved. Like,
Yeah.
the
We're
thing
really
is,
lucky. We're
it's
really
like,
grateful to
if
her.
I'm a girl, like, from England, I'm privileged, I've got all this money behind me, like, all of these incredible people, and I can't even get into a country. What about the people that really need it? Like, that don't have money, that they need to live?
It's a story I think a lot of people need to hear out there, and the same goes for the actual content in the movie, because I'm seeing a lot of movies at Sundance this year where someone can walk away and maybe they didn't have that exact same experience with that exact same challenge, but by seeing somebody else go through it, they can realize new truths about themselves, and I really appreciate that. So what do you hope that viewers take away from your movie when they go home at the end of the day?
I mean, that's a beautiful question, and a complicated one. I mean, I hope that they, the simple answer is I hope that you have empathy for a choice you maybe wouldn't make, that you can understand how, even if this were, how one could make that choice. But I think also to find, a lot of dignity and heroism in the everyday is something that we thought about, that like Mandy's character isn't one who, the story is in many ways a small and intimate story about like deeply personal small choices and crises and, and confrontations. And I think that Rhianne beautifully embodies the strength and the self-determinism and the dignity in those small choices. So I would hope that, it also, people are given an opportunity to celebrate those small choices, and just the heroism and people who are in pain getting up and out of bed every morning and moving through the world with their own, sense of purpose and deliberation. Yeah.
That's just her
very
writing.
well said.
She's just an incredible writer and director.
Thanks. I pay her.
Doesn't pay me anymore.
Speaking of which,
I'm
you get to work with A24. I hear the movie was so. Actually, you could shed some light on this. What was the process like of finding out that you got distribution? Is that something that happens on the spot as we get the report from the trades, or do you know about it going into the festival?
I would say that it happens quickly. There's a lot of intensity. But no, A24 is partnering with HBO on it. So it's in some ways like we knew going in, because we were working with A24, that there was already a distribution plan in place. HBO coming on as part of that piece of and that is really liberating. It also allows you to make a lot of riskier creative choices because you're not as worried about who's going to buy this, who's going to find this commercially appealing. You're like, what is the truth of the story I'm telling and how can I do it best? So that was really liberating and empowering. But yeah, I think it also gave us a certain amount of relief because we have so much confidence in them. And then when they told us like, hey, look, there's another person we'd like to really partner with who we think can give us a whole new platform of, of ways for people to experience this film, we thought that was really cool. So.
A24 is a company that I greatly admire.
Me too. And HBO as well. Yeah,
I'm
we're
a big
really
fan
lucky.
of the content we get from them. Do you have any idea when everybody out there is going to be able to see the movie, or is that kind of
I do
hidden
not.
details? All right.
I think it will be this year.
Okay. I like to hear
that's
that.
as much as I know.
Well,
very,
in-
very
65
helpful, I'm
days
sure.
of- yeah,
In that
maybe
case,
possibility.
I'm going to urge everyone out there to keep an eye out for the movie Share. And thank you all for watching this interview. Like and share it. Tell everybody you know about this movie. And a huge thanks to both of you for
so
being
lovely.
here.
Thank you.
you to Kia Telluride for
Thank
making
you.
these interviews happen. We will see you soon with more Sundance coverage.